So what happens when one of the biggest, most secretive companies in the entire world decides to outsource its brain to its biggest rival? Well, we're about to find out. This is the story of the incredibly uneasy alliance between Apple and Google, a deal that's about to change, well, pretty much everything we thought we knew about the future of AI.
And let's be crystal clear about something right up front. This is not just another software update. No way. This is what many are calling a strategic surrender. You see, Apple, the company that built its entire empire on this idea of a walled garden, where they make everything themselves, has just handed the keys to a core part of its future directly to Google.
You heard that right. The white flag has officially been raised. Siri, as we all knew it, is dead. And this isn't just some rumor, it's the new reality. There's a new system, codenamed Project Campos, and the engine that's going to power this thing, it's not coming from Apple's campus in Cupertino. Nope, it's coming straight from Google's headquarters in Mountain View.
And the price for this capitulation? A cool $1 billion per year. That number, all by itself, tells you a massive story. It's a story about just how desperate Apple was to close the gap in this AI arms race.
So the big question is, how did we even get here? I mean, how does a company with Apple's resources, we're talking nearly infinite resources, end up having to rent a brain from its #1 competitor? Well, the story isn't about one single mistake. It's really about a decade of them.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It really tells a story of squandered potential. Apple was a pioneer. They had Siri way back in 2011. That was a massive head start. But then, a decade later, ChatGPT comes out and it completely, totally blindsides them. They were left scrambling. After years of internal delays and one frustrating dead end after another, Apple's own software chief had to make the call. They just couldn't catch up on their own. They needed help. And inside the company, it was apparently chaos. Apple's own AI division was reportedly nicknamed aimless by its own frustrated employees. They were citing a total lack of vision and ambition. Now that is a brutal self-assessment, and it shows you just how deep the problems really were inside one of the most successful companies in history. And the technical gap, it was just massive. You know, if we measure an AI's power by its parameters, Apple's best internal model topped out at around 150 billion. And Google's Gemini? 1.2 trillion. That's an 8-fold difference. It's a chasm that Apple's engineers, as brilliant as they are, simply could not cross on their own.
So if Apple couldn't build it, they went out and bought it. But how is this new hybrid brain actually going to work inside your iPhone? Okay, let's pop the hood and take a look. Now, to be perfectly clear, Project Campos is not just some new app you download. This is a deep integration at the operating system level. Google's AI is being woven right into the very fabric of iOS, and it's fundamentally replacing the old core logic that used to be Siri. Okay, so here's how it works. The new system basically operates on 3 different layers. The simple private stuff, like, setting a timer or opening an app, that's all handled by Apple's own small models right there on your device, which is great for privacy. If you ask for something more complex, it gets sent to Apple's own secure private cloud. But, and this is the big one, for the really tough questions, the ones that require true world knowledge, your iPhone will now phone a friend. It'll turn to the most powerful layer of all, Google's Gemini.
You know, a good way to think about it is like this. Apple is basically renting a super high-performance engine from Google, but they're keeping it locked up tight inside their own high-security garage. See, Apple still controls the car, they still design the whole user experience, even if they didn't actually build the engine themselves. So how is Apple building this so-called high-security garage? Well, they're promising what they call a privacy buffer. So before any request from your phone ever hits a Google server, Apple says it's going to strip out personal identifiers and mask your IP address. And here's the crucial part. Google is contractually forbidden from using any of this Apple data for advertising or, importantly, to train its own AI models.
Of course, a deal this big doesn't just affect Apple and Google. Oh no, it sends absolute shockwaves across the entire tech industry, and it creates a whole new set of winners and losers in the AI arms race. So let's look at the scorecard here. Who comes out on top? Well, Google is a huge winner. Their AI leadership is validated, they get their tech onto billions of Apple devices, and they get those huge licensing fees. Apple also wins, because they instantly catch up in the AI race. So who's the big loser? Well, probably OpenAI. They just lost a key potential partner, and now they're even more dependent on Microsoft. And speaking of Microsoft, they're now staring down a future where Google's AI effectively dominates the two biggest mobile platforms on Earth, Android and iOS. Now, if this whole arrangement feels a little familiar, it really should. It is eerily similar to that multi-billion-dollar deal that makes Google the default search engine on every iPhone, a deal that is already under intense fire from regulators for being anti-competitive. So you can bet those same regulators are going to be watching this new AI alliance very, very closely.
All right, so what does all of this mean for the actual iPhone sitting in your pocket? Well, this deal isn't just a simple partnership. It really represents a fundamental philosophical shift for Apple as a company.
For decades, the old Apple was defined by that walled garden, an obsession with building everything themselves, in-house. The new Apple is something totally different. It's more of a curator, an integrator that chooses the best technology from anywhere, even if that means from its biggest rivals. This is a massive, massive strategic pivot. And you have to understand, this isn't just about making the iPhone smarter. This powerful new AI brain could actually let Apple build entirely new kinds of hardware. In fact, rumors are already swirling about a screenless, wearable AI pen that would rely completely on conversational AI, a device that would have been totally impossible without this partnership with Google.
Which brings us to the final and most crucial question of all. For years, Apple has built its entire brand on being the undisputed champion of user privacy. Now, its core intelligence, its brain, is being powered by one of the biggest data companies in the world. So is a smarter iPhone worth giving up a piece of Apple's privacy-focused identity? That right there is the billion-dollar question that this new alliance forces all of us to consider.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next video.